We've just picked up our new 2022 Subaru WRX, and just like our Toyota Yaris GR, the fan mail has been just, well, resoundingly positive. I'll give you some examples. I'd rather catch a bus than drive a Subaru. Yuck. First mod, drive it into a lake. It's so painful to look at. The GR Rally owns this thing. Subaru 3 engines WRX. Well, actually that one's probably true. Colour match the plastic. Gotta love a bit of 2008 technology. How many head gaskets did they throw in with the deal? Should have kept the bug eye. Well, as you can see, the bug eye's still here. What a complete disappointment of a car. Needs 30 grand spent. If it's not a GC8, why bother? Congrats on your Forester XV sedan. Wrap it orange, then camouflage it. Yaris chops this boat. The rear wheel arches suck on it. Actually, I'm only like 1/4 of the way. We'll save some of them for later. But yeah, 2 weeks into the purchase, and I'll have to say I'm pretty happy. So we've had this car for all of 2 weeks. Now there's a lot of stuff online. We're here with Jesse from Subaru Docklands. A lot of stuff online I see guys, especially in America, they've got to run their cars in for 1,000 miles. That is absurd, right? I won't rev my car past 3,000 RPM. Now I hate to say this, I actually touched the rev limiter on the way home when I picked up the car off you,
yep.
And you told me just drive it like normal, and I have.
Yeah, just drive it. I've driven cars where I've been nice to them from day one, and I've never found that they go very well down the track.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just drive them as you would normally want to drive it from day one, they go great.
So this car's got, I think it's got about 600 Ks on it now. I had it on the dyno a couple of days ago, and I said to you, it's gonna make all of 168 kilowatts, which is only 225 horsepower at the wheels. All right, so I have never, ever run a car on the dyno in, I don't know, 20 odd years. I'm gonna do my new WRX. Baz has just given me a crash course here, how to use the dyno. Let's fire it up. All right, so I said 168 kilowatts, it's done 161. Same boost, 0.88, 167. I think that's it, that's it. I said 168 kilowatts. At the start of this dyno session, I was 1 kilowatt off. So for those that don't know, these only run like around 11.5 to 12 PSI out of the factory. That's nothing. Yeah. Like a new Golf R will run like 21 pounds flat across the rev range. A GR Yaris, I think in the mid range, it'll peak like 24, 25 PSI out of the factory. These run no boost, and it's very linear boost. Yeah. If you watch the boost gauge, it climbs up like a supercharger. It doesn't even come in all at once. On the dyno, it is hard to get air into a top man intercooler, but I don't think it's hindering this car at the moment because it's not running much boost. It's not making much power. This car doesn't make much more power than this. It's probably not much lighter, but it makes it very differently. Yeah. You just took this one for a drive. It's very different, isn't it? Because you've driven probably most Subarus.
Most WRXs, standard ones, modified ones, STIs, BRZs.
And this one has a big intercooler.
A big front mount on it,
You were just saying total overkill.
Overkill, yeah. You notice that unless you're in the right gear with the right revs, it just nothing happens. Yeah. And actually, as I said to you, it was getting better the more we drove it in the higher revs. Yeah. And it was coming alive, but yeah, very different. Not a drivable everyday car. No, so that's what a lot of people look at dyno figures, but like the dyno figure on this, very flat. Yeah. This is a much better driver as a daily driver, but if you want to take it for a weekend drive in the hills, this is probably a more fun car. Look, I always love the boxer rumble, and it's definitely got that.
Yeah, that's one thing lacking in the new cars, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely
they don't really sound like Subarus.
I'm at 3,000 revs.
Yeah.
And it's really
it's a bit lazy.
It's a bit lazy. You kind of got to above 4 is where it sort of comes alive. It's good that you've got a short ratio 6-speed in it.
Yeah.
That actually works well.
We might sell it, I'm not sure. Jesse thinks I should keep it
I
and
think
put
you should
the top
keep it.
mount intercooler back on it.
Put a better top mount intercooler on it. Because it's just, you're not going to have all that piping going down to the front. I think the response is just going to be better.
Yeah. I see a lot of people online, they always refer to this as a STI. It looks like an STI, it's not. They did in Japan, but not in Australia. They never sold a bug-eye STI in a wagon. So this is just the WRX with a lot of add-ons. It's got a lot of STI parts on it. It's quite a tight car. It's been well looked after, it's been painted. The previous owner did all this. I bought it like this about 8 years ago. I've sort of had my time with it, so I'm in two minds about whether we should sell it. Now, I know I'm not a Subaru person, even though I've owned a few of them. I don't get too brand loyal. Dead set, I'm like, I open it up to put it on the dyno, I'm like, where's the turbo on this thing? I'm looking under here. Well, they tucked it up under there. No, they haven't. What's the intake pipe? And I go, oh, it's down here. This is how much I know about FA engines. One cracker thing is that though, isn't it? Look how easy that is. Easy oil changes. The turbo is basically down at the bottom there, sort of behind the radiator, sort of under it.
I can't see it.
No, you can't really see
Sure
it.
it's not NA the way it drives?
So in the blue corner here, we've got the FA24, 2.4 litre.
Yep.
Runs no boost. Red line's at 6,000 RPM. When I read that originally, I thought, is that a typo? This is 2022.
Yeah.
When you drive it, you realise you don't actually need any more revs.
No.
Because it drives much better down low than this. This revs to 7, 2 litre. This is an old stinky EJ205.
With a gigantic front mount.
It uses a little bit of oil like most older Subarus do, but hey, it's still running. Never missed a beat.
Well, the thing is, you know, the feedback from customers with WRX especially is you get that turbo peak and then it just drops off up top. And people have been complaining about that for years.
I had a GC8 with a stock turbo and it was very like that. This isn't like that. This doesn't fall over.
This doesn't fall
It's
over.
got a very, once it's on boost, it's
once
fairly
it's on,
flat.
but it's quite late.
It's late, yeah.
In the rev range.
Yeah, you really need to be above 4,000 RPM in this.
So Subaru basically spoke to us about it with this car and they said, you know, how can we fix it? And they said, well, what we've done is we've done a tune on it so the torque curve is very flat, like an NA. Because people want that just nice, gentle pull all the way to its rev line. But now people are saying some of them don't like it. So, can't please everyone.
Overall, I'm pretty happy with this car. My main criticism, it needs more power.
Oh, 100%.
It should have, out of the box, it should have 250 kilowatts, I think.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it'll be that hard to get that out of it. Where's the rumble, Jesse? We're in the new car.
Where is the rumble?
How much better low down torque does that have?
It's great. It's instant. It's the first WRX from the factory that I've driven that actually comes on at about 2,000 revs.
I've seen a few videos, especially in Australia, of journalists saying, oh, you know, if you're expecting it to drive like a 25-year-old WRX, you know, it doesn't quite have it. And I'm thinking, part of me is like, why would you expect a car built now to be the same as a car built 25, 30 years ago?
Well, why would you want it to?
That's what I thought. And then I see other people write GC8. I agree, it's the best looking WRX. I owned one. They're a really cool looking car.
I've got one, it's great.
Yeah, you've got one, they're great. But I don't think a lot of these people have driven a stock one.
No.
Stock one, they're pretty damn slow.
They're pretty damn slow.
They got like a lot of body roll.
Heaps. They've got nothing in them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a modified one, they're fantastic. But even like the black car we just drove, it's got its good points and its bad points, but it's not a standard car.
No.
I have driven another wagon bug-eye WRX, a standard one, just with an exhaust, and I was actually a little surprised at how much slower it was than my car.
Yeah.
So many people said to me, why did you buy this car? It's so ugly. I said, well, that wasn't really a factor in buying it. A, I wanted an all-wheel drive car first up, and I'm a manual snob. You're not allowed to drive manuals today, it seems.
No.
Main reason, I know, in 10 years' time, these manual cars aren't going to be around, probably.
No, probably not. So
at the end of the day, I looked at a few front-wheel drive turbos, and they were good cars. I didn't mind the new Focus and the new i30, but we're here today. Now, the roads they're drying out now, but they were wet this morning. The great thing about all drive cars is, not that you're driving them silly, but you can drive it pretty much the same
in any weather.
In most driving conditions, and you won't really get in trouble. It won't wheel spin. But other cars I considered was the new Golf And in my driveway, it was something like 24,000 more than this car. It's not even in the same price point, is it?
No, I priced one up yesterday just out of curiosity, and it was 76,000.
That's for the hatch.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the wagon, which is 80.
Yeah, wow.
In my driveway. So this car, for the money, there's not really, if you just want, the manual transmission aside, if you just want an all-wheel drive car with some sort of performance, what do you buy? Around the $50,000 mark in Australia.
Something second-hand, because there isn't a lot.
Well, the second-hand stuff probably costs more than this.
It does, yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I bought it. And B, I have kids. I use this for work. I need space. A GR Yaris, we have a GR Yaris in our fullBOOST stable. Cracker little car, but every car has pros and cons. And I've found most people, as you know, who slag off cars have never driven either or.
No.
In this sort of driving through the hills here today, a GR Yaris is in its element. It is awesome. On the track, great car. But like, we go to an event, I think the first time Geordie came to my house with it and said, let's go somewhere, he opens up the boot and I'm like, hello.
Where are you going to put all your stuff?
They've got no room in them.
No.
And they're actually pretty basic inside.
Yeah.
This car is a lot nicer inside than a GR Yaris.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially paying for driveline. The GR Yaris has fantastic brakes.
Yeah.
That's one major disappointment in this car.
Yeah, I agree. I actually don't know why they didn't put bigger brakes on it.
Every performance car now has a Brembo type,
at least a 4-pot.
Style 4-pot caliper.
Yeah.
Like even this one's got the old STI Brembos and it pulls up, the brakes are fine on this car.
I think like you pointed out, why did they put Subaru XV brakes on a WRX?
One of the downsides, obviously it's been covered, this being a manual car, it misses out on some of the safety equipment. It doesn't have emergency braking, which is a big...
Yeah, nowadays it's a big
It
factor.
is. Like our GR Yaris has all of that. It's got heads-up display, which I was a little bit disappointed this doesn't have. It is lacking a few things, but... So probably the first things I'll be looking at doing is, we'll probably do some work with Shockworks, get some coilovers in it, more so just to sit it down a bit.
Yep.
I don't want to go too low. Have you run your finger along those plastic guards?
No.
They're not exactly, you know how you go, I'll lip the guards and they're just squared off. If you feel the back ones, I think it's the back ones, it's just like a square arch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like you just, I guess the beauty about them, if you lower it, it should just self sort itself out, just grind off the...
Yeah, you'd hope so.
So we'll probably have to cut them, I'm assuming, on the back to lower it. Yeah, I would like to do some sort of flex fuel ethanol tune-up in it, but I've seen a lot of people put exhausts on them and they don't sound... Late model DI, direct injection engines, I don't think, for the most part, they don't sound great.
Yeah.
The older engines have a lot more character.
Yeah.
Like you can hear that engine or another brand and you kind of know
Subaru, you can pick them a mile away, especially with an EJ.
A lot of these DI engines, they all sound the same.
Yeah.
So I would be keen on seeing how far you could push this car without touching the exhaust.
Yep.
Just putting a tune-up, maybe some ethanol in it, maybe change the front of the exhaust. So this is interesting. You don't have most cars, you've sort of got a dump pipe, down pipe, whatever you want to call it, runs down near the firewall, whereas this runs essentially, your turbo's down the bottom there, and the dump pipe essentially runs out this way.
That's right.
It's flat. So from a tuning point of view, what the heck was that? So we've just had this guy come in. He wouldn't have seen us. He's missed his braking point or something. That was one hell of an entry. Barra nearly lost it. Now he's going to get himself bogged. See, this is a good example of where an all-wheel drive car just S-H-I-T all over a barra. Look at it, stuck. And
now he's about to reverse into a log.
What on earth was that? Always a fun day out filming, isn't it? Interesting on here, Jesse, the way they've done the tanks on the intercooler.
So we've got a couple of STIs at work, like just the very last of the STIs, and if you put them next to each other and look at the intercoolers, they're almost similar or identical in size.
So it's like they got the last STI intercooler.
Yeah.
And put it on this.
Yeah, well, we spoke to an engineer, head of engineering at Subaru Australia in the drive day of this car, and he actually said the intercooler is basically STI.
Yeah.
Everything he said about the engine, really, he said it's really been put together in a way that gives you some tuning ability.
I've heard it's got much bigger conrods in it.
It does.
I'd be keen to see this car on like an ethanol E85 tune where you've got all the boost in early, like say 20 pounds. I think this car would actually come alive.
Give it a month or so and you'll probably see someone doing it.
A lot of people, I've got to do 10,000 Ks before I modify my car. As soon as I can get the tune file in it, this thing's booked in the next day.
This thing's booked in. Yeah, and a lot of people think that the motor in it is from a Subaru Ascent.
Yes, yes.
It's not.
Hopping back in this now, it's so much bigger than that Bug-Eye.
Yeah. I mean, the way I describe this
It's
car,
a Liberty, isn't it?
Yeah, I describe it to people, it's an updated Liberty GT.
Yeah, it is.
So it's about similar size to an 08 2010 Liberty. It's got all the creature comforts in it.
The fit and finish on the inside is quite nice in this car.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah,
it's comfortable.
It's a big upgrade, I reckon.
It's a big upgrade. It has been aimed at being used day to day.
The GC8s were just known really as a GC8. And then Bug-Eye, Blob-Eye, I think it's the Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So my daughter, when I brought this car home, she said, Daddy, it looks like a shark. Because it's blue, it's got a fin on the back, it's got shark eyes, she said. So I'm assuming now we're just going to have to call this one
the Shark Eye. Yeah. It could be worse.
Either the shark eye or the stink eye.
I'll let the online people decide on that, mate.
So we've just had a fun day out driving both Subarus, jumping in and out of each car, changing drivers. This one is so different to the old car. I like them both. But for now, I think we'll start modifying this one. We can't do much under the bonnet in terms of tuning. I don't believe there's really many options in terms of tuning software. So I think we'll concentrate on the suspension. And I don't know how, but I'm going to get a new set of brakes on it because I think it's the most disappointing aspect of this car. This year marks the 25th year that we have been behind the cameras, and to celebrate we have a fresh new merch design. Grab your track gear from shop.fullboost.com.au.
Mate, do you know, I just want to point out, do you know how much this oil cap's worth? It's a Pro Drive oil cap.
So I know what I got, type money or what?
Yeah, do you know what you've got here?
Don't worry about the car, we've got an oil cap.
You've got some kid that's going to see this oil cap and he's going to flip out because of what it's going to be worth and he'll want it.
Just like this highly sought after strut brace.
Oh, this strut brace, it's like there's people paying $500 for those strut braces because you can't find them. It's a Bug-Eye strut brace, or GD.
Yeah.
I mean, the top tank cap there, that's about, I've paid $55 for one at a Suvinats event.
I've never looked once at an FA engine.